try to make it new. You can't fight it when it feels so true. You drive me crazy like no one else. The final moment before I lose myself. And it's no use working 9 to 5 if you want more than to stay alive. So come on over, we can make it through. Take my hand, I know just what to do. On the beat, keep dancing through the night. We stay up until the morning light, the morning light. Oh, so come on over, we can make it through. Take my hand, I know just what to do. On the beat, keep dancing through the night. We stay up until the morning light, the morning light. Oh, the morning light. Oh, I just wanna be your Superman. Come fly with me, just take my hand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Just Us Girls. I am so excited for you. What joining us tonight is going to be great. We have a great program all lined up for you. Listen, get the cat, get the dog, get all of your furry friends and all that good stuff. Grab your pen, get your booklet. We are going in today. It's going to be good. We have so much fun. We have so much to tell you tonight. You are going to just love it. Love it. Okay, so with us, we always have our crew. We have Dree, we have the Wanda. Hey, girls. And today, we have with us Amanda Tolve. She is a real estate agent. She is a professional. She knows the stuff. She knows the ins and the outs, and she is going to tell you what it is that you need to do. Trust me, by the time you're done, you're going to be ready to go buy a house. So listen, our topic today, is it a good time to purchase a property? Is it a good time to purchase a home? Listen, get comfortable, get the popcorn. Let's go. Let's dig in. Woo, it's going to be good. All right. So Amanda, welcome to Just Us Girls. And we have some questions for you today. Okay. Our audience is going to be so filled with information. And so without any further ado, first I would like for you to introduce yourself to our wonderful audience. Tell them who you are and what you do and all that good stuff. And then I would like for you to answer this very first question. This first question, is it a seller's or is it a buyer's market? And what does that mean? All right. So introduce yourself to us. Tell us all the things that you do. And then if you can answer the very first question for us, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? And what does that mean? The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm happy to be here with you ladies. My name is Amanda Tolve, as you just said, and I work with Remax Select. I specialize in residential properties. So that could be, your personal home or a house that you are also investing in, but it's mostly residential. And it's in New Jersey. So I focus on Bergen, Essex, Passaic, but I also do a little bit of Morris and Hudson and the surrounding counties. So now let's dive into the first question, which is a great question because everyone asked that. So right now, we would say that it's a seller's market because the inventory is low and we have way more buyers than we do sellers. So the sellers have an advantage because they get to choose which offer they want to accept more than they did maybe, let's say, 2 years ago when you put an offer in on a home, then maybe they only got 1 or 2 offers. Now they're getting 10 or 15. So the seller really gets to be picky about who they're choosing to buy their home. Exactly. So it's definitely a seller's market. They have an advantage, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad time for buyers because on the other end, it's also great interest rates for buyers. So they have that advantage, but the selection is definitely less and it's better for the sellers.
You know what? I don't understand this, right? Mm-hmm. It's more, you said this is a seller's market. which means the sellers have the advantage and all that good stuff. But at the same time, you have where the interest rates are really good. You know, right now, what type of rates are we looking at, you know, just for starters?
So, I mean, the rates change every single day. So you have to
Right.
stay on top of your, with your lender to see what your rate is. You have to lock in your rate when it's good and low, but the rates are in the threes right now. And if the higher your credit score, the better your rate. So if you have an 800 and something credit score, you might be able to get into the twos for sure. And you have, your debt to credit ratio and all that stuff, all that counts as well. But if your credit is lower, even, I don't know, 650 or 680, you can probably still get the three in the threes.
Okay, so what would you say is you know, there's someone looking to purchase a property and they figure, okay, my rate, okay, my the interest rates are really good. They're in the, you know, the threes or what have you, average now, but my score is about maybe below, a little bit below, like a 680, or it's about a 640 or so in there. What rate, I mean, like you said, the rate will be a little bit higher or whatever the case is, but would be would it be good for them to purchase right now? What would you say to someone who has that type of credit score?
So as far as the credit scores, each lender is different with what credit score they'll take and what rate they'll give you. So you definitely, if your credit score is lower, you want to shop around with different lenders and see what they offer. Some of them will give you a loan at 620. Some will say, no way, you need 680 or more. But I would say, find out what exactly your rate would be, and then maybe wait till it goes down, because it's not just your credit score that's involved in choosing that rate. It's also your income, your debt to income ratio. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So I would definitely say, before you start anything with the home shopping process, you talk with that lender and see where you're at, and see if he says, he or she says, let's wait, another 6 months until you have a little bit more employment history, or let's wait another year until something falls off your credit. And they can really give you the best idea of when it'll be a good time if you want the lower rate. But hey, right now, getting a 3.5 is not a crazy rate. So, next year it might be 5.5. So it might still be a good idea to just get that 3.5.
Okay, so before, I'm going to ask you one more question before I jump over to Drea and the one, their type of questions, right? So in terms of, the seller, there's a lot of inventory out there, and the sellers get a chance to choose. Is that what's driving the not so much the value but the price? Because I've seen it where the house is listed for, let's just say 350. The house is listed for $350,000, and then you have like 8 or 9 offers. I don't know what the sellers will, how they determine how they would select that particular buyer, but they'll have bid like maybe $450,000 above the asking price, or what's the highest? First of all, what's the highest that you've seen that the sellers have selected? Like the houses are 350, and then you have all these biddings that's going in. What's the highest bid that you've seen where a seller has actually accepted the highest bid?
Well, that's a tricky question, because so like I actually recently had a listing that was 350, sold for 375. But originally, when I had it appraised at 350. But by the time I had the bank appraisal, it was appraised at 375. So, the prices, because everything is selling more, all the appraisals are now going up as well. So, yeah. So even though you're overpaying, there was another property in Nutley. It was listed for 400,000. We offered 450, and it appraised at 450. So the appraisals are actually working out, which is another advantage to buyers, because they're able to get the loans for the amount that they offered over. So the more the houses sell for higher prices in the area, when they do the appraisal and they compare the prices around them, now they're comparing it to higher prices. So now the value of that home is going up.
Oh,
like a domino effect.
Yeah, because I was concerned about that, because I'm like, okay, well, maybe the houses will not appraise for that much, and the bank's not going to be offering that much. So if you have a 350, and then you turn around and someone is offering let's say 400,000, and they do accept it, oh, it's not going to appraise because then that's too much more, or like you talk about $50,000 more over asking price. So I never really understand that, but now I do. And thank you so much for clarity. You see, this is good stuff today.
Yes.
People write these things down. Okay, so so Dree and Olawanda, jump in with your questions.
I just had, I had a question that was on my mind because, I know quite a few people that are definitely in this market are trying to buy homes. And some of the obstacles they ran into was some of the offers that were accepted were because they waived the inspection and the appraisal. So can you go into that a little bit more for me? Like, why, if I'm the buyer, like, why would I buy a house and I'm going to waive the inspection and the appraisal? And both of them are extremely important. So why would they waive that?
Because their realtor is not advising them correctly. No, I don't ever tell unless I know for sure that that house is going to appraise at, like, say the 350, I knew it was going to appraise at 375. And they offer 375, I would say, okay, waive it, because I know that it's going to appraise for that amount. But otherwise, that's not a very good idea, because what if, you offered 450 and it appraises at the 500, now you have to come up with that 50 grand because you promised that you were going to just waive the appraisal. So waiving the appraisal means you're going to pay the difference of whatever it appraised at to what you offered. So that's not smart unless I've done my due diligence for my client and I've looked up the comps and I know what it's going to appraise for. And I feel safe telling them, okay, waive the appraisal. And the inspection, that is something else that it's very important. You should always have the inspection, but you can waive the repairs. That's okay. But always have the inspection, because what if it's something serious like mold or a foundation issue? Like, those are things that you need to be able to back out of the deal if you want to. But as far as just waiving an inspection, I don't ever recommend that. I think you should have it and then just say, you know what, I won't ask for any repairs. We'll fix them ourselves.
Right, because I know those two are important. So I couldn't, just talking to them, this is not what I do, but just me, some stuff is just common sense to me. Like, I would not say, okay, waive the inspection, waive the appraisal, so, just thinking, I was just so curious and, and really had thought about that. And my other question was, when we were talking about the offers that were being made, only because I have some people that ended up where they had one place that put like 25 or 30 offers in, right? Mm-hmm. And then it came down to it that they didn't accept their offer, but what is it, so we kind of get an idea that would make them take one over the other? Is it because of the amount that was offered? Is it because they know automatically their bank is approving it, they're not going through this? So what is it that would cause them to take one over the other?
Okay, so when you have, in this, we have multiple offers now, you have to put them all together or line them all up and look at a lot of different things. So first, you're going to look at the pre-approval letter that they have from the lender. You want to make sure that they're actually pre-approved for what they have. Then you're going to look at the down payment, see how much they're putting down. There's also, if it's an FHA loan or a conventional loan. FHA loan is fine if the property is in shape and great, but if it's a house that needs work, there's a lot of restrictions with FHA, so you're going to want to go conventional. Then you're going to want to see if it's a cash deal. If it's a cash deal, you can close in a week. A loan takes about 45 days. So there's that as well. Then there's just a lot of things that come into play, but it's not always the highest offer that wins, which is a misconception that a lot of people have. Because and it's just like what we were just talking about with the appraisals. So if I have a house listed for 400,000 and the guy says, well, I'm going to offer 500, but he doesn't waive the appraisal, what does that matter to me? Because if I know it's going to appraise at 400, I'll just pick one that's actually giving me the offer for 400. Or maybe there's somebody who will say, I'll give 10,000 over whatever it appraises. So there's like so many different factors that come into it, but it's not always the, highest offer that wins. It's the best offer, the most solid one, the most, it has to look good on paper, and you have to have proof of funds and proof of the loan. And then again, if cash comes in, the cash deal, Well, that
Right.
would.
Yeah, I would imagine that would work.
Yeah,
No matter
yeah.
how you, I mean, who's
Yeah.
not going to take the cash?
Yeah.
The cash
I mean, you
deal,
can close
especially
in a day.
you can close right away. You know, if you can close like within like a week or so, you know,
Within a
like you
week,
said. One of the things I had realized too was just maybe you probably can just kind of give me a little bit of clarity on that is on the FHA loan. The reason being is I find that when you're looking at some people that are selling homes that they're not even considering FHA. They will not even take FHA as the loan. They're not looking at that. What would cause them to not take the FHA loan?
So there's also a misconception with that because I've also been a title agent for 10 years. I know like the background work of everything. So FHA just means that, you know, you're putting 3.5% down. It's your first home. You're going to live there. But there's also a lot of restrictions. So like you have to have, you know, if the front steps don't have a railing, you have to install a railing. If there's paint chipped, and like this stuff might sound crazy, but if there's paint chipped around whatever, you have to paint it. I actually had a client in Clifton bought a house about 1.5 years ago before the pandemic. Was that 1.5 years ago? I think before the pandemic all happened. And they were still accepting FHA loans because it's fine. If the house is in good condition, it's great. It's, you know, you can still have the loan. The seller still gets the same amount of money. So they went and they painted all around the house so that the FHA, you know, would pass. But the buyers did that. But now that sellers can say, you know what, I'm going to completely avoid that. And I'm going to go with the person who's putting 20% down because I know for sure that they have the money and I know for sure their loan is solid. So it's more of seeing it on paper and knowing that, okay, this guy has 20% down. So I know that the loan is going to go through and we're not going to have any, you know, hiccups along the way. The deal's not going to fall apart. With FHA, even though these people are just doing it to get, you know, a lower, have more money in their pocket, I guess. But it just shows that they have less, or maybe they only qualified for that 3.5% down rather than 30%. So there's more flexibility with a conventional loan, and FHA has restrictions.
Right, I could understand that.
But if it's a brand new house, you know, there's no reason that they shouldn't take an FHA.
Right. I imagine it's brand new. I mean, what's really?
Yeah. I mean, hey, you never know though. Some houses you never know.
That's you know what's hidden. That's true. You never know what's hidden. So yeah, exactly. No, we can't assume. That's true. We can't assume because we've seen some new houses have problems. I know people that are in new developments right now, and they've had problems a year later. It wasn't even, you know, so it's been less than a year and they have a problem with a new development. So, you know, now they're going back, you know, with the property owners and just going through so much stuff right now just to get things fixed. And it's only a year later. That's a problem when you paid so much for a brand new home and now a year later you're running into problems.
I actually have an example of that one too. Because you mentioned the inspections before too. So I had taken my clients to see a brand new, fully renovated home in Wayne, which is a common flood area. But this house was beautiful. I mean, you would never like think that anything was wrong with it. Everything was done. Everything was expensive, beautiful, whatever. And then we got the home inspection and the inspector pulled me aside and he's like, you can't let them buy this house. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's beautiful. And he's like, no, like the whole foundation was sinking. And like, he saw that because he's an inspector. So you would have to like, I guess, rebuild the whole bottom of the house and lift it. And it was just, so we got out of the deal. But like, that's why the inspections are very important because I can't see that, you know, as a regular person, maybe if you bring a contractor, but the inspector saw it and, you know, saved the clients from wasting all of that money.
So with that in mind, right, even if it's a new construction, you will still recommend, you know, having the inspected inspected because of issues that, you know, of course, it's brand new, it looks nice, that, you know, the builders should know that, you know, you're thinking that they're doing the right thing, they have the right plot of land or what have you. Wouldn't the builder know what they're building on?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a brand new construction, this one was like a flip, a renovation. So you still, you don't know how, you know, if they used copper for the electric or so, you know, that stuff, we don't know unless we're doing that, you know, every day like the inspector is. So, I mean, the builders, if they give you, I still wouldn't feel comfortable telling my client to not get an inspection. I would tell them to get it for information purposes only, if they want that. For the amount it costs to get an inspection, you know, I would just do that. You know, it's less than $1,000 depending on the size of the house. You know, on a smaller house, it's about $350. On a bigger house, it's about $750. But it's worth it because now you know what you're getting. You know, it's something I always recommend an inspection to my clients.
Okay. So I have Sorry, one more question, please. One more question, please. We're going to drink. Okay, so what is, you were talking about 20%, you were talking about 3.5% for the FHA. But what would you consider as a good down payment?
Right in this market right now, people are looking at, and just because again, not everyone knows the knowledge of you know, a loan and what it takes. A 5% loan can be just as good as a 20% down loan.
Okay.
But because again, the sellers have all these options, they're going to say, okay, I'm taking the 20% down because I know they have the money, rather than the person who's putting 5%, still a conventional loan, but only 5% down.
Money talks.
Money talks, yes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Because they want to be
Exactly.
safe and they want to know the deal's going to close, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I can understand that definitely. And it just quick thing was one of the things I thought about was because I thought about when we had bought our home and how we had a really good inspector. He went through this place with a fine tooth comb. I mean, and you know, there were some things that, you know, he said, no, this needs to be done and it needs to go on the seller. The seller needs to fix it. No, I'm not going to we need to get these things done. And I'm glad that he was, because, you know, all of those things were taken care of. They did everything, you know, they did, so it worked out for us, you know, but he sent those inspectors. I know they're so important. I don't take the inspections lightly. I don't take the inspectors because you need them. You need to know what is in your home. What are you dealing with? So I just think that that's something that you really shouldn't just want to just throw to the side. You really, really need to consider it. Definitely.
Definitely. And in this current market, even though a lot of the times you're not going to get credits for, you know, the inspection issues, or sometimes they won't fix it, it's at least you know what you're getting into. And if it's something that you're able, like if a window's broke, okay, I think we can deal with that, you know. But if like, you know, like I said before, if there's mold in the basement, that's not something you might be able to deal with. So
right.
It's important. But yeah, in this aggressive market, that's something else too. I mean, some of these agents are just putting it on their listings that, you know, as is, no repairs, don't
Right.
even.
Yeah.
That's not cool. We jump on in here. You have your questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, well, you know, Amanda, so speaking of inspection, so even though that you have a brand new development, sometimes what I came to realize, because, you know, I had a brand new development as well, but what I do realize sometimes is that the builder works along with their inspection person. And so when they're inspecting the place, you may not know that as a buyer. So they have their own person and they can say, yes, this is good, this is good, this is good. In fact, it's not so. So do you advise that you can, okay, you use their builder, the builder's inspection person, but do you advise getting your own inspection person just to make sure?
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I have inspectors that I work with, of course, and I give my clients their option to choose one of them if they don't know one, but I always tell them to pick their own. Yeah, pick your own inspector, because I mean, you know, you can go on Google now and find anybody really, but I also have, you know, a list of people that I've dealt with in the past that I give them to choose from as well. You never want to just say, like you said, use this one and that's it, because I don't know if they're on your side, if they're covering things up. So it's definitely good to pick your own. For sure.
Okay.
I like that because, you know, when you're actually looking, this is a big investment. Purchasing a property, one of the largest investment that you'll do, if not the largest investment that you will do. And you don't want to be in your home, you know, a year and a half later, and you find all these things, you know, like, you know, unstable foundation, because when you have an unstable foundation, you might as well just pack up and just get out of there, because then you're talking about, okay, your house is like sinking and what are you going to do? You know? Right. So it's seriously, because, and I don't understand, I really, really don't understand why some people will waive that. I really cannot fathom why some people would do that. I don't care how much of a seller's market it is, how much you want the house, you know, care how much money you have. It's still always good to get it inspected, because you never know if termites is eating away at the house. You know, you especially if it's an old property, you do not know what's behind everything else. Later on, they might determine that they might find something that it's like, well, what's going on here? well, I didn't see this before, because sometimes you're in a frame of mind that you want it so badly that you'll do everything that you possibly can to get it. And you're, going against that next person who, you're up against that next person. It's like, okay, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to put on as much money as I can. You omit this, you omit that. And the seller is not going to tell you no. The seller is not going to tell you no, because they are, right now, it's their advantage. They're going to get that house out. They want to get it off their hands. They want to move down to Florida. No disrespect to the people in Florida, like over there in the corner over there, tree. They want to move down. They want to retire. They don't care about anything. I'm going to sell my house in New Jersey. I'm going to move down to Florida, and I don't care what it is. I am just going to sell. But unfortunately, that person who's coming in, I'm thinking, you know what? Do your due diligence. Do whatever it is that you have to do, because even though you may have the money, later on, you never know what's going to happen in life. You do not know what emergency may arise. You do not know what health disaster may come upon you. You just do not know what will happen. And here you are stuck with termites eating away at your house, or the foundation is sinking, and you're like, oops, do I fix the house or do I deal with my health? I'm just putting it out there. So instead of this being, let me just get the word, instead of being so rushed to get what it is that you want, just use wisdom and, take what Amanda is saying to you today, get that inspection done, go through the process. Go through the process, and Amanda is going to tell you the process that you have to go through. Go through the process that's needed for you to purchase, so that when you finish, you can rest your head at night. Who wants to go to bed knowing that, oh, I have a leaky roof? Oops, if I had had that inspection, I would not have known that this is the problem. You bought it and it was a nice sunny day, and every time you go, the sun is shining.
And now the rain has come. Yes. And now you're finding out you need a panel because the rain is outside. Yes, it's raining today.
Go look at home.
Day to find out. Okay. Okay.
A good time.
Right.
Look at that house to see if there's any leak in the roof.
Okay.
Isn't that something? You purchase the house in the summertime, and every
if you want more than to stay alive.